Ngalo na lawa to kuma ta bak. Asira linga da fo ko nyu founding kila.
Hey, elafta maboro la bank. Kalpo efa, igiso eseo, na yuna jang.
Ibadin kiyato. Kati yuna wallet, ibe falindiro ke kan sandiri nyat.
Ni la yuna wallet to si muna fanno tulo yabo mano kandri. Ani fen jama. Isi sanno la yuna wallet to kono. Yalla kamo soto. Ila wallet to kono.
Alkana la konda no tay. Kabi yuna wallet anatan tolle rukan na balwo fanondi.
Abe sona yaren ko bulu podo. Nela mobile scan. Yo, science ise maboro ke wato men diate.
Ko be sandro ke fangole ba. Ko ba ke kan dimbalem. Isi ñun lonko e sandro se yona enterprise wato wati. Ani la yona wallet to la. Ibe lan kamo soto kay la wallet to kono.
Alina nga kafun nanyi yuna dimbayal kan kasandiro ke yuna biti foto.
Alinga kata nyin ko kentat. Na sura fa lolu si sandiro kije se maboro fanan keje.
Moro jundiana nyum ko di mabal ni kadeda.
Hello and welcome to another edition of our show. It's another Thursday and we are back here in the studio to look at what is trending and what is happening in the government. Of course, you all know what is trending is the drafting of the new constitution. Someone said Borough Administration's draft. I think that's an opinion I saw on Foria calling it the Borough Administration's draft. And we would love it to be the people's draft, but can we make it the people's draft? What is in that draft compared to the 2020 draft? And to discuss all of this is the man I said was responsible for the throwing out of the 2020 draft, Lawyer Lamin J Darboe. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Fred.
You know, I keep blaming you for that, right? I'm not the only one who blames you for that. A lot of us blame you. We believe you are one of those people who are responsible for being too vocal and inspired an entire nation to vote against that draft. Now we have a new draft, the 2024 draft that came, that was announced last week. We were told they were going to gazette a draft. The president himself said we were going to go to referendum at least by the end of the year, and they fulfilled the promise. They just gazetted the draft. First, let's look at what happened, the process. That's what I want to look at. Was the process right? I think that's the first foundation before we look at what is in the content. When you look at the 2020 to 2024 draft, the 2020 draft, there was a constitutional review commission, there was a consultation, they went around the country and came up with something. Some people agreed it was a good draft, others had great concerns, including yourself, and I had issues that I was not, I didn't like, but at least it went through that. But it went to the assembly, it was voted against. Now this one, we didn't know what was the process. The civil society people that I spoke to the other time, they said they didn't know, but they're looking forward to what is there. And it seems like it was done by the government themselves. We don't know. I kept asking who edited our draft, who wrote this draft, and I don't know. Up to now, I have no answers. I don't know if you do, but let's look at the process. It is different from the 2020 draft, the process it took. Now, is this the right way to do things when it comes to a national document like the Constitution?
No, not at all. The executive is just one arm of government. So the Constitutional Review Commission was set up by an act of parliament.
Yeah.
The Constitutional Review Commission Act 2017. So the people were selected, the modalities were put in place, and the 2020 draft was written and submitted to the president according to the act.
Yeah.
So from there it went to the National Assembly. When it was gazetted and everything, it was sent to the National Assembly, and it didn't go through the National Assembly. By the way, citizenship is about looking at what is happening in the public space and contributing your quota to those conversations. And of course, 2020, the constitutional review process, the document that came out of it, the 2020 draft, was a period of great moment in the country. It was very significant, very important. So the draft was presented to the president, but it didn't make it through the National Assembly. So obviously, nobody except the National Assembly members had any authority to vote in the National Assembly. We did what we believe we can do as citizens, but the ultimate responsibility lies with the members of the National Assembly. It was a period of great tension. On the eve of the votes, obviously the diplomatic community got involved. The Americans and the Europeans got involved. They put a press release out. That was a demonstration of the high stakes that were at play. So we understand all of that, but ultimately, after the rejection, even though it was rejected, it remains a national document. So, what do you do with it?
What do you do?
Yes. What you do with a document like that is appreciate the fact that it's not an executive document. Yes. So, the government could have kickstarted the consultations. If it wanted to bring this back, it should have consulted all the stakeholders. By that I mean the National Assembly members, but more importantly, the powers behind the National Assembly members, that is the political leadership or the political parties. They needed to be consulted. Even political parties that are recognized but have no members in the National Assembly should have been consulted. That was what should have happened. Civil society should have been consulted. If you are able to bring all of those different constituencies on board, then it becomes a national document. Maybe you can work out a compromise, a strategy behind the scenes to reintroduce the 2020 draft, or to do so with amendments. So actually, when people say President Barrow's draft, or others would say Dawda Jallo's draft, Dawda Jallo, the Attorney General. The reason why people are saying that was because of the lack of consultation. This should have been a collaborative effort. Now it is a big public fight instead of negotiating behind the scenes. Yes. So the government has itself to blame for that.
Now, for that particular process to go the way it went, and also now people giving it a name. I saw this editorial from the Fourier, and they said we should call it the Barrow Administration's draft constitution. Now, if people give it that name tag, the Barrow draft or the Dawda Jallow draft, how problematic is that itself to the goal of having a constitution?
Well, we have a constitution.
I mean, to have a new one, a new one, if we are looking to have one.
The 2024 draft, because the 2020 is no longer in play, it's in limbo.
Yeah.
You know, it's comatose, if you like,
I mean,
not dead, not alive.
I think it's dead, kind of.
Well, with the 2024 draft,
now,
you can probably say it's dead. Yes.
Yeah.
But anyway, the 2024 draft is a development, an improvement in some areas, detraction, others would say, in other areas.
Yeah.
As far as the 2020 draft is concerned. Yes. So, yes, it is the Barrow Administration draft, obviously, because of the way it came out, you know, by complete surprise last week.
Yeah.
The president did say we'll go to referendum in December.
By the end of the year,
Yes. So, we then suspected the coming out would be imminent. So I guess that was why it was released last week, because without releasing it, the timelines would not be met if you are thinking about a referendum in December. Yes. So I don't even know whether the December would be very tight.
It would be tight.
Yeah, it would be very, very tight. Even though the gazetting process started, because you have to gazette it for 3 months. You then gazette it for a further month.
Okay.
Yes, and then you have how many days? You have 10 days.
Yeah.
So that in itself
is about 4 months, 10 days.
Yeah. So that is very, very close to December. Yeah.
Now let's look at the comparison. Yeah. You said there were improvements on the 2020, but there was, let's look at the improvements first. What areas do you think this draft is better than the 2020 draft?
Well, better and things like that would be difficult to use and justify. But say, for example, if you come to the area on citizenship.
Citizenship.
Yes, there was the 2020 draft had a clause on citizenship, or has a clause on citizenship that was very troubling to me.
Yeah.
Yes, and that was one of the main reasons why I objected and opposed the passage of that.
What did the 2020 draft say about the citizenship?
Citizenship, other sections of the citizenship were okay, but what it said was children found in the country from 8 years down. Obviously, it can be 1 month or 1 year, because then you would have thrown a baby away. You would have committed a crime. But they said from 8 years down, whose parents, or, we don't know, whom we don't know where they came from, should be granted automatic citizenship. Look, Gambia has extremely porous borders. To open up the country's most significant area, that is the area of citizenship, in a manner like that, with a country with big porous borders, people are coming from all over the sub-region, and then to make them automatic citizens, that was something I couldn't accept. I thought the drafters, you know, whatever they went through, nobody could have told them that. I don't know why it was there, but that was something that was very significant to me. And we have to be careful, because sometimes, even though you are a lot of people are opposed to this 2024 draft, or as far as I would say, the Barrow administration
Majority
draft.
of us,
Yes, you know, but we need to remember that unlawful voting was a big contentious issue here, even during the last election, and the run-up to that election. Now, if you say that foreigners are voting in our elections, why would you not oppose a clause in the Constitution that blanketly open that up and offer citizenship, the basis of obtaining our national documents, to foreigners? So sometimes we are too partisan in our approach to public affairs. So
I think that will be a concern for us. So what does the new draft say when it comes to that portion of the?
The new draft deleted it completely. You know, we raised the issue. So it was not like they were not aware. Maybe if it was just television interviews or radio interviews, they wouldn't have a record of it. But we wrote about it. I wrote about it. And I also discussed it on television programs. So I'm glad that was one of the areas that was removed. That is very, very significant. We don't have to concentrate exclusively on the political climate as it is today, the tensions between the separate entities in the public space, the political parties in opposition and the government in power, the party in government. Yes, we don't have to over-concentrate on those things. We have to take a big view of the country. The national interest is far more significant, as far as I am concerned, than picking just partisan fights and quarreling over things, known issues that in the long run would prove, you know, not really of major concern. This issue of foreigners voting will continue. So if you have a document that gives you that situation, this is a constitution. It's not mere legislation. It's a constitution. Yes. So if you are going to, if you have a document that, you know, puts you in that kind of situation, how can you say that document was excellent? It was the voice of the people. I would not have agreed to that. And I know hundreds of thousands of Gambians would not have agreed to that. So that is important. But what the new draft said, it deleted that section completely. Yes. But it needed to do an editing job. So in that editing job, there was a slight mistake. That was section 19.3. Section 19.3 said that those 8-year-olds, you know, should, those 8-year-olds should be granted citizenship. So that was an error. It is there, but the substantive provision has been deleted. So that one cannot stand by itself, because it was a further deliberation on the 8-year-olds themselves. So once that is deleted, then you don't have a problem. So right now the issue is no longer, you know, opening up our citizenship to everybody. Yes. That is out of it. So this one is just an editing issue.
Any other issue that you think is an improvement of the 2022 draft?
Yes.
Apart from citizenship?
Yes. The deletion of chapter 5.
Chapter 5.
You know, the entire chapter 5 was deleted.
Yes. Chapter 5 is the one for
leadership and integrity.
Leadership and integrity.
Yes.
And you think that is you? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Well,
you wanted that deleted?
Absolutely. Okay. I wrote about that also.
Yeah.
That it did not belong in the Constitution. It shouldn't be there. Look, Fatou, constitutions are framework documents.
Okay.
Yes. A constitution is a framework document. But the problem with our constitution drafting is that we put the framework and the legislation together. Yes. Just put the framework there, and you can go and put the legislation somewhere else. That is not a problem.
Okay.
Yes. But if you come to leadership and integrity, it opens up the possibility of witch hunting people you don't like. Yes. I mean, if people have no integrity, if people are stealing public funds, there are already laws there to take care of those problems. So why are you putting that in the Constitution in a way that allows for the implementers of that Constitution to witch hunt, to divide between different citizens? You know, you'll be arresting and prosecuting some, you'll be accusing some, when in actual fact you have no evidence, because the provisions cannot stand up to scrutiny in a criminal proceeding. So my view is that you don't worry much about morality. We need to concentrate on legality. Verifiability. We must be able to verify. You know, if we say somebody committed an offense, if we say somebody is abusing his power by stealing from public funds, then if you have that evidence, go to the criminal law, the criminal process, and deal with it. The Constitution is normally about governance, a framework for governance. Yes. And you cannot have all these little things. Say, for example, freedom of expression, you know, individual liberties and things like that. You know, in the Gambia here, we would say your right stops where somebody else's right begins. That is not necessary in constitution drafting. What you have to do, and this is the chapter on fundamental freedoms, is just say government should not regulate religion. Government should not regulate speech. Yes. That's it. That's all you need. You can go into legislation because the courts will implement that. The courts are not mad. They know that you cannot come up with just a blanket proposition like that the government cannot do anything about a particular aspect. No. When it says the government cannot do this, it means the government cannot do it outside legal restrictions. Those restrictions would then be fleshed out by the courts. Yeah, you cannot, if you have your television station and we say government cannot regulate speech and things like that, but then you come here and insult people every day. You know, even if that is what the Constitution says, the courts will interpret it as not saying that. Because the government, the Constitution didn't mean that. It cannot mean that. Yes. So you go to separate legislation, but even if you didn't put any separate legislation there, through its normal interpretive role, the courts would say this couldn't be the intention of the law. And the courts would do what they are supposed to do. Yes. But these constitutions, and this is both 2020 and 2024. Yeah. Some would say the Borough Administration's document. But the differences, there are differences, but the differences are not very major between 2020 and 2024. I believe there were political calculations there. So it is likely to get major hurdles, to encounter major hurdles in
When
the
you say there are political calculations, what do you mean by that? You believe there are political calculations?
Of course, there are political calculations. So, for example, if you take the retroactive clause.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know, I believe that shouldn't be in the Constitution, and I wrote about that also, yes, and I still stand by that.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be in the Constitution.
Yeah.
It is deleted.
Yeah.
So for me, it can be both legal and political.
It looks like everything that you have written about have been removed. Most of the things that you have written.
Yes.
Basically, almost everything. Is that, am I right to say that?
Well, I wouldn't say you are 100% right, but you're very close.
I'm very close.
Yes, you're very close. That is why we must engage.
Yeah.
Yeah, we cannot just say, okay, this thing is supported by a majority of the people. The majority can misunderstand principles sometimes.
Yeah.
So people should come and share their views.
Yeah.
If they are rejected, they are rejected.
Yeah, but you have to
If
bring
they
your
are, yes,
opinions out.
just play your role.
Yeah.
It is not your role to make them be accepted. Other people will do that. But if you see something you are not comfortable with,
Yeah.
and that something can affect you in the future, just say it.
Yeah.
Of course, with decorum, with respect for the dignity of other people. Yeah.
Now, apart from the retrospective, the citizenship, and apart from those that you mentioned, is there other things that that you think are an improvement on the 2020?
The retroactive, yes. Are there other improvements there? I think I'll rely on you and your audience to ask
Now, let's
any
look
specific
at,
areas.
Now, I'll start with the retroactive one. The whole thing has been deleted. You have advocated for that. Now, some legal scholars are saying, but they are contradicting themselves in another area, because there's something that I saw where it says no person can run more than 2 consecutive times for public office. Like, I think the presidency.
Yeah.
How does that balance with saying that removing the entire whatever from the Constitution, and this president already has run for 2 consecutive times. The first time is the 2016 one, and the 2021, which ends in 2026. Now, how does that balance? This one is saying you cannot run more than 2 times consecutively, but this one is saying that one is already removed, which gives the president the blanket space to be able to run. Now, with that removed, the president can run from 2026 another 2 times if this constitution passes, right? But what about that other aspect which says you cannot run 2 consecutive times for president?
Yes.
What's the interpretation of that?
That provision.
Yeah.
That provision was there. We were debating it on a forum today.
Okay.
Yes. So what you said was what some people were saying.
Yeah.
As well. You know, and they said they got it from some scholars. That is fine. But what are we dealing with here, Fatou? Are we dealing with a constitution? Are we dealing with a law? Or are we dealing with a proposed law?
A proposed law.
A proposed law.
Yeah.
Yes. So how do you apply a proposed law to a past? How do you apply that? But that is not the only problem for that provision, because like I said, this is a proposed law.
Okay.
If you go to the transitional and consequential provisions, it's stated clearly that this constitution comes into effect a day after it was accepted in a referendum by the people. Yes. So it goes to the National Assembly. It passes the National Assembly. It goes to a referendum. The people accept it. Then it becomes law. That is when it becomes effective. So it has nothing to do with, yes.
So meaning what you are saying is this: once this law is passed, this proposed draft is passed and becomes law, the 2 times that the president has served don't matter anymore when it comes to this constitution.
I'm not saying that.
That's what the law is.
It is the law.
That's what the law is.
Yes, that is what the proposed law is saying.
Okay.
Yes.
So we were right when we said this draft, if passed, Barrow will be able to run for another 2 terms.
Yes.
Okay.
You are right.
Okay.
Yes. That is the most sensible interpretation of the clause. I can see that there is probably an issue there, you know, an issue of drafting. So maybe they can look at it to remove any doubts. But the transitional and consequential provisions are also part of the Constitution. And it says the effective date of this Constitution is of this proposed Constitution would be a day after it was accepted in a referendum. So there is no law. We are now operating under the 1997 law, Constitution, until this proposed 2024 draft becomes law. Yes. So that is what we are dealing with. So it is part of the Constitution. You have to look at it holistically. You cannot just take sections without connecting them and reach a conclusion on what a particular provision means. Because if you are somebody familiar with constitutions, and by the way, constitutions are not, there may be interpretational difficulties, you know, if you are not a lawyer, but not necessarily. Constitutions are public documents, they're public policy documents. That is what they are. So there are people who understood constitutions far better than those who train as lawyers. Yes. Yeah. You know, the reason why I'm so familiar with constitutions is not because I'm a lawyer. It was because I studied history. Yes. And of course, I didn't study it to pass exams. I really studied it to understand, you know, the development of societies through time and things like that. The public arguments, the constitution making and things like that. Yes. So you can study law and not be familiar with the constitutional process because you are probably not interested in the area. It's a matter of interest, really. Yeah.
Now, what areas do you have problems with in this 2022 draft? Any areas that you have issues with?
Well, like I said, people have to raise the questions and we'll deal with them. Yes, because I went through it. I didn't see major differences, like I said, except for a few places between the 2024 and the 2020. So the strategic error that the government made was the failure to consult. Yes. Otherwise, it probably could have brought people on board, the other stakeholders on board. Yes.
Now, one area that was raised here one time when we had a conversation, it was when we were talking about the judicial bill. And you said to me, but why are you guys complaining about the judicial bill? Because this bill is in the 2020 draft that you guys wanted passed. It seems like it's also in this 2024 draft. The judicial, the most controversial bill ever, apart from the FGM bill, is the judicial officers bill. The same bill is in this 2024 draft, right?
The provisions of the bill, not the whole of it.
The provisions.
One provision of the bill, and that, of course, was what you know, a lot of people were objecting to. That was that is the provision that if you are a retired judge, you'll get the same salary as a comparable judge
Yeah.
who is currently serving is receiving. It is in the 2024 draft. It was in the 2020 draft. So it is there.
It's there.
You are absolutely right.
There's one thing also that I had concerns about, and I think some other people do. I don't know. I think we discussed that here too. There's this part which says the judiciary, their how do you call it? Their budget, instead of going directly to the National Assembly, which is the procedure now, they go to the National Assembly, they go there and defend it. But instead, it will go to the presidency, and the president will have to make recommendations and send it to the National Assembly. Is that right?
So what do you say is the procedure now?
The procedure is it goes straight to the National Assembly. That's what the procedure is. Or was that what was in the 2020 bill draft?
Well, 2020, 2024 are just drafts.
Yeah.
The law,
Yeah.
as it currently is, if you come to the section of the judiciary,
Yeah.
I think the budget goes to,
The National
you
Assembly.
just send it to the president, but he cannot do anything about it. He just has to forward it to the National Assembly. That is what the 1997 Constitution says, and that is what is happening. Yeah.
But then I think the reason why in the 2020 draft, the independence of the judiciary, because the judiciary and the National Assembly are separate arms of government, just like the executive. Why should the judiciary bill budget go to the presidency? Don't you think there will be some interference there? If you think the judiciary should be independent, why should their budget go to the presidency? For what? What is the agenda there?
Well, Fatou, let me remind you
Yeah.
about how the 1997 Constitution came into play.
Yeah.
The 1970 Constitution was the operational constitution until 1994, when it was suspended. And so the country was being governed by degrees. Yes. So it was during that period that the 1997 Constitution
Yeah.
was drafted, and then it came into effect. Yes. So the 1997 Constitution says, and I can read it to you now, section 144.
Yeah.
The Chief Justice shall submit the annual estimates of expenditure for the judiciary, the judicature, that's the way it put it,
Yeah.
to the President for presentation to the National Assembly in accordance with this Constitution. So it goes to the presidency, and the President sends it to the National Assembly. The President shall cause the estimates to be placed before the National Assembly without amendment. The President cannot amend it, but may attach to them his or her own comments. And observations.
That is the thing. The reason why we don't want the 1997 Constitution is because we believe the document has so many issues. And that is why the entire country believe that the 1997 has to go. We need a new draft. And in the sense of having independence of these three arms of government, the executive is his own arm, the judiciary is, the National Assembly has its own structure, it's a different branch of the government.
Yeah.
Why should the judiciary bill go to the presidency for any comments or anything to be accompanied? Because remember, most of the time in what we have in our National Assembly is presidents have the incumbents or ruling governments mostly would have the majority of National Assembly members. Now, if the president makes a recommendation on that budget, you're most likely going to have his National Assembly members voting along the line of the president's recommendations. If it suits the interests of the president, it doesn't suit the interests of the judiciary, that's where the conflict of interest comes in, and the influence of the presidency on the judiciary. don't you think that section would have some influence on the judicial section of the government and should just be removed? You don't think that for fairer?
Oh no, I accept that. In fact, I've been dealing with these issues even before we. I think that is absolute nonsense. Yes, it shouldn't happen. The judiciary should not submit its budget through the president.
Yeah.
It is an arm of government. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So you are absolutely right. There is a conflict there.
Yeah.
It gives the president some kind of control over the judicial budget. Because if the president made any comments or observations on the judicial budget, obviously in a National Assembly that he controls, we know the outcome. Yeah. There is no question about that. Yes. And plus the judiciary is the watchdog of governance in the country. Yes. It interprets the law. It says what is right and what is wrong. And so, obviously, there are times when you are going to rule against the government. Yeah. So, the dispensation then would not have taken kindly to that. Even this more pliant government of President Barrow, they sometimes don't look kindly on it, judicial decisions. The Honorable Minister of Local Government recently as a month or two ago, said that the courts must not be
fair to the president.
Must not be, passing judgments against the government. But that, of course, is a misunderstanding of separation. It's a misunderstanding of the role of the judiciary. The judiciary is like, what should I say? Today you can say the judiciary this, the judiciary that, but when you get into trouble with the person you are supporting today, and that is taken to the judiciary tomorrow, then you realize the significance of an independent judiciary.
Is very important.
You must not look at your current situation. You look at the larger interest of the country. And that is why the judiciary is so important. Yes, so I agree with you. The judiciary should not be submitting its budget to the through the presidency. But it also says that the section 144 of the 1997 Constitution also says that the judiciary should be self-accounting. But, there are times when you can't even buy little provisions. You have to go to the treasury, and all kinds of bottlenecks there. That shouldn't happen. The judiciary should not have financial constraints as far as its allocated budgets is concerned.
And that will have issues of independence when it comes to judicial.
So that's true.
That's true.
Yeah.
Another thing that I have issues that we were all happy with is the anti-corruption bill.
Yes.
We all applauded the anti-corruption bill, and at least with the coming of the anti-corruption bill, we'll be able to hold officials accountable for what they do. I think few things that I have concerns with is this: the portion where judicial officers can when they retire, they have to, before and when they retire, they have to submit their assets. They declare their assets to the anti-corruption bill before and after. The National Assembly members also. Now the executive in the 2024 drafts said to say the vice president and ministers and their spouses should declare to the anti-corruption bill before they take office. Now, but after leaving office, they are not required to declare their assets to the anti-corruption bill. And that brings me to, if that is right, to the question. The National Assembly members they are not, they are lawmakers. They don't have a specific departments where they are running day to day, and that doesn't make them accountable for like an office that they are procurement processes, buying equipments, accountable for a budget that they, they don't have that roles compared to ministers and judges as well. If you are subjecting them to declare their assets to the anti-corruption bill, why exempt ministers and their spouses? I don't even have a problem with their spouses, but why exempt ministers? Is that something that you have concerns with, or are you okay with that section of the 2024 draft?
Well, obviously, if you are serious about fighting corruption, you have to be serious about the avenues available to you to fight that corruption.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Anti-Corruption Commission be a part of the Constitution? Maybe not. Maybe separate legislation. If the idea is to fight corruption, separate legislation should be utilized for that process. But if it is made provision in the Constitution, I believe that after leaving office, because coming into office, you've not accumulated anything. Yes.
Yeah. It's when you
leave. So leaving office, that interim period before your entry and your exit is when you are going to be corrupt, if you are going to be corrupt. That is when you are going to be accumulating assets. If you are going to be accumulating assets that are way beyond your earnings, because that is the whole point. Yeah. Are you now richer than when you enter office? Do you now have $10 million, $100 million when you enter office with nothing? Yeah. And you were using your remunerations and allowances and other things to feed yourself and your family. If all of that is accounted for, are you left with sufficient money to give you $100 million in the bank, or is $100 million in assets? So obviously, like he said, I don't know about spouses, but certainly ministers should.
And my thing is here, the concern here for me is, since the anti-corruption, that aspect of it is in the Constitution, but you make it compulsory for judges and National Assembly members, but you took the liberty to take it off for ministers, even though they should declare before they get into office, but they are not required to declare after. What are you telling us? Me as the layperson, you're telling me the minister can do all they want, they don't have to be accountable after leaving office, even though we entrust them more than we entrust, things that we entrust them is more than what we entrust the National Assembly members. But you're telling those people they can declare their assets after. You can tell judges to declare, but you are telling the minister that he doesn't. What are you opening up to? You? That is telling them you can eat as much as you want. You can do whatever as you want. The law protects you. Now, that notion alone might just put me off.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you. But how did you start this conversation? You said, Fouria's editorial said, the Borough Administration Draft Constitution. Yeah. This draft went through scrutiny in the cabinet. So was it that consideration, was it wholly focused on the national interest, or were the participants thinking about themselves? Yeah. So this is why, again, this is why some people would say, the government should not do this by itself. It should be done by consultation.
Because the natural thing will be, if anything I'm doing, I'll look at to protect myself. Because that's not the only part. There's another part where in the 2020 draft, it was said that in that draft, under the anti-corruption, it says gifts that ministers received should be declared. When you're serving, you receive gifts. Somebody gives you property, somebody gives you a house, somebody gives you something. You should declare it to the anti-corruption bill. That entire portion that was in the 20 is not here. Now, if that is deleted, and also you're telling me you are not required to declare your asset, the entire mindset is here, is it? You're looking to protect a certain group of people. And that alone defeats the purpose of a constitution. The constitution, I remember you saying here, the reason why, when you were defending the retro aspect, why it should not be, you said, see, the constitution should not be about an individual. We should look at the broader picture. Even though you and I know you don't want any president to stay in power for 20 years, but this is the law of the land, and it should not look at a particular person. It should be for something that, like, the entire nation. But it looks like some of these things look like people were kind of protecting themselves, because if you're telling us, oh, they can have gifts, they don't have to declare to the anti-corruption bill. National Assembly should declare their assets after they leave. Judges should declare, but ministers and the vice president are not required to. What does that say to us, the ordinary folks?
Well, like you said, when we say the government, who do we consider to be the government? The government is the president and his cabinet.
Yeah.
The executive arm of government. Wherever you go, if you hear the government, that is referring to them, even though the judiciary and the National Assembly are also part of the government. So obviously, these are the people who are dealing with the big projects. Yes, they are the ones who are dealing with the procurements. They are the ones who are dealing with the national projects that in which huge amounts of money were involved. So this idea of accepting gifts should we shouldn't be talking about it today. Nobody, no public officer should accept gifts. That should be made a policy. I don't know whether it belongs in the Constitution, but I would certainly want legislation around issues like that. I don't think it's a constitutional provision. This is why our constitutions are too long. As between the 2020 and 2020.
The reason why, we have the anti-corruption bill. And I remember that conversation here. I had National Assembly members from both sides. And the most contentious issue was gifts. It was there to say public officials should declare gifts, and what is qualified as gifts, and also declaration of assets, right? That entire portion was removed because the National Assembly members for the presidency believe. I remember my National Assembly member Bundung especially saying this, no, that's not
what we are talking about.
He said, but you can declare that. You can tell a source of funding, right? We're talking about source of funding, and he said the source of funding, the entire portion around that was removed from the anti-corruption bill. Now, there's no legislation around it. So now what we're seeing here is the same mindset. Remove it from the anti-corruption bill and also from the Constitution. Where else would you put it? That makes it a blank thing. Public officials can receive gifts. They can take whatever they want on behalf of their office or in the name of being a public official, and they are not required to declare any of this. What this does is encourage corruption. in public office.
Absolutely.
And there's no measure because the anti-corruption bill doesn't cover it. As we speak, it's not there, it's been removed. Now, it's not also in the Constitution. What other laws can you prosecute these people on if a public official receives millions and millions of dollars and misuse his office to get these gifts and donations? He is not required to declare it at the assembly if this law passes, and is not in the anti-corruption. How can you prosecute that public official?
Well, you know, we come back to governance, the national interest, as opposed to the personal interest. The reason why our societies fail as far as governance is concerned is because of the fact that we tailor our documents to suit particular individuals.
You said this.
Yeah. So this is the problem we have. I think it is common sense. If that National Assembly member who is arguing about removing it, you know, is running a business, obviously he would want a robust accounting system, otherwise his business will collapse. Yeah. So why do you want a nation to collapse, but you don't want your own little income to collapse, your own little business to collapse? Yes. We are legislating for ourselves. So that is a function of our mentality. It is a function of the kind of governments we have in this country, we had in this country, and we have right now.
Yeah.
So if people don't believe in those things, they don't believe them. But why don't you believe them? Because people are always talking about the rule of law, government officers. They are always talking about transparency. They are always talking about accountability. These are not mantras. They have meaning.
They have meaning.
Yes, they have meaning. It's not something like, you know, you can just come and say it and get away with it. No, it has meaning. They have meaning. Yeah, if you take that meaning out of it, if you don't want to subject yourself to that meaning, then obviously it is not going to work. These are simple things, really. Some people would say, okay, show me corruption. You know, it's not like this.
It's not like water. No, you can't show it. You can't show it. It's only your bank account and your assets that you declare and don't declare that can show it.
Absolutely. In fact, the bank account wouldn't show it
most of these
because you'd be fully stupid to put those stealing money in bank accounts.
Yeah.
So obviously, I mean, this is a function of governance.
Yeah.
And that is where our responsibility as a people come into play. We are so partisan.
Yeah, we are.
That, you know, whatever side you support can do no wrong.
No wrong.
You can clearly see the wrong with others.
Yeah.
But that thing being replicated in your own camp,
you can't see it.
It's not an offense.
No, it's not an offense.
You can't see it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Another thing, I mean, I guess the nomination of the president, you know, they declare their assets at the National Assembly, but they're not required in this draft to do it at with the anti-corruption bill. But also the aspect of political parties, the source of funding for political parties. I am one of the persons who have always advocated for this, and I think in the 2020 draft that was captured there, the political parties should be able to, their source of funding and all the stuff, there was an area. But in this 2024 draft, that is not there. Is that problematic to you, and do you think that is okay?
No, that is absolutely problematic. Yes, that is absolutely, look, we've been around. We've been around since the First Republic. So, you know, I mean, this is a continuing issue. Yeah, it's a continuing issue with the way we manage our public affairs.
Yeah.
Yes, you know, so I really believe that political party funding must come to the front of our political system.
Yeah.
We need to understand where these monies are coming from.
Yeah.
Yes. But let me give you an example.
Yeah.
2018, the new National Assembly members,
The pickups.
the pickup trucks.
Yep.
That was over $100 million.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, if an anonymous donor brought such a huge amount of money into the country, you think the lawmakers, if they have any conscience at all, should accept that?
No.
No. They should not accept that. Yeah, you need to know who brought it.
Yeah.
So there were MPs who didn't take it. We salute and celebrate them.
Yeah.
Yes, but those who took it and closed their eyes to that pertinent issue of where did they come from, are not people you can depend on where fighting corruption is concerned.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That is.
Yeah. They went and got themselves lands that were also dubiously allocated to them.
Yeah.
Those lands were probably not properly acquired from the traditional owners.
Yeah.
Why did you accept it? Yeah. So it is the mindset of the country. So that was across the board, except maybe for one party, that was across the political spectrum.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was only Doi, who refused to take those vehicles.
Yes.
Yeah. So you think definitely source of funding for political parties?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely, because we need
Now,
to.
for something like that, if they're editing this 2024 draft, can the National Assembly input it in? The members, can they do that?
Yes. You know, one of the reasons why the 2020 draft failed was they said you either vote for it or you vote against it.
Yeah.
Some people were contending that the National Assembly could not do anything with the 2020 draft.
Yeah.
No, that was a misunderstanding. Yes. I've not come across that legal principle anywhere, but if you go to the National Assembly standing orders, obviously, through the passage of a bill in the House, in the National Assembly, you can cut and, amend and do whatever you want with it. Yes, you can do that.
You can do that.
Yeah. This is a legislative arm of government.
Okay.
You can do that. You cannot say, just vote for it.
You have to
don't touch anything there. That cannot be. If you look at the standing orders, you will see clearly that the National Assembly has that mandate to look at a bill and deal with it as necessary. Yes. So if, for example, this bill is going to get any chance of survival, I think that is some of the things
we should look at.
Yeah, they should look at. Not you and I.
They should look at. We should advocate for them to look at.
Absolutely.
Because I know that advocacy is important.
Very, very important.
Very important.
Yes.
That is manifestation for the manifesting in this 2024 draft. I think a lot of advocacy is the reason why we have most of the things that you have advocated for have been changed.
Yes.
So that can tell you how important advocacy is.
It is very important.
So that's why us sitting here and saying, pointing all these things are important.
Yeah, but the most important aspect of it is, this would require, and I have to emphasize this far too, political leaders must look at this document.
Yeah.
You cannot just give us one-liners about one sentence in this whole document and expect people to accept your pronouncement that the document shouldn't go through.
I'll come to that.
I believe that political leaders must look at this. They must assemble
and go through this.
There are people to look at it, make recommendations for their National Assembly members to pursue when the...
Can you guys check the sound? Because somebody's telling me audio. Go ahead.
Yes, they should be able to do that. Assemble a team from within your party. Look at these things, raise your concerns, and that is if you want to give it a chance. If you don't want to give it a chance, you don't have to do anything. You just go and vote against it. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's look at the impeachment, because I want to look at different sections. Impeachment.
Yes.
In the 2020 draft, the process would require, the process of impeachment would require the Chief Justice, 3 other High Court judicial officers, and a layman who is not a judge. But in this 2024, it says now it is the Chief Justice, Supreme Court, and the Christian Council representative, and a representative from the Medical and Dental Council from the Gambia Chamber of Commerce. Why do we have all those people when it comes to impeachment processes? Is that something that you're okay with, or you have issues with that?
Well, I don't know. I don't know why that is put in the Constitution. Say, for example, this is a government process.
Yeah.
So you don't go outside the government for things like this.
Yeah.
So the way I understand impeachment is the arms of the government checking on each other. So who starts the impeachment process?
National Assembly.
Exactly. Who sits? The Chief Justice.
The Chief Justice.
And he's the head of the judiciary. Who has been impeached?
The executive, the president.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that is why some people are saying that, oh, this constitution is easy. They said that the Supreme Islamic Council.
Supreme Islamic Council, the Christian Council, they will never impeach a president. That I know. Because of you know how our society is.
Yeah.
You know, especially what. No disrespect to these religious leaders, but you know they are more. They are more forgiving. They are more understanding. Some of the things people would consider as gross misconduct and all the stuff. I don't know how they look. You know, you and I know they look at it a different way. So I don't understand. And a Chamber of Commerce, you know, these are offices that we all know sometimes have very good relationship with the executive. Now, in the fear of having fair justice, how would you have the Christian Council, the Muslim Council, Medical Dental Council, the Chamber of Commerce? These are 4 members that will have a block that will be there to take part in this process. How is that session going to be fair?
Well, they are there to monitor the situation. They are not the ones that impeach the president.
But
So they have no vote.
But their influence.
No, let me come. I agree entirely with you. They are influential. But I think that as mere observers, this is a National Assembly process.
Yeah.
The National Assembly members will vote on whether enough evidence was laid against the president for him to be removed from office. Yeah, there is no imprisonment when it comes to impeachment. It's just they take you out of circulation.
Yeah. You go back home and just drink your attire.
Absolutely, yes. Yes, I don't think, other than the Chief Justice and members of the other members of the judiciary, I don't think this is necessary for these other people to be part of that impeachment process. Remember, this is not a collegial atmosphere. We are not dealing with friendships and other things. We are dealing with the process of law. The process of law would require, and we are dealing with the arms of government. The Chief Justice is there to ensure that the process is fair. Yeah, he just pronounces, but he just observes. Yeah, he's not somebody who votes in the proceedings. That is for the National Assembly. The Chief Justice is there for the symbolism of fairness and in line with the pillars of the government, the 3 pillars of the government. Yeah, the 3 pillars of the government: the executive, the National Assembly and the Judiciary.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
That's not-
but Fatou, you know, I have to be honest with you. The 2020 and the 2024, you know, are both substandard documents.
Both stop standard.
Yes, if only for the volume of material there. The volume is a problem. You know, there is a disagreement as to whether we have a valid death penalty law in the Gambia today. Some judges are sentencing people to death, but the Constitution, at Section 18, the 1997 Constitution, says that the death penalty must be reviewed and be placed before the people in a referendum for a yes or no vote as to whether the death penalty should continue. Now, when you have these voluminous constitutions, nobody is monitoring those provisions.
reads them.
Even if we raise them, they are ignored as nonsense. Yes, and they are not nonsense. It's the Constitution that says the Gambia must go to a referendum 10 years after the Constitution comes into effect. So that is 2017. From 2017, all these death penalties, I know they will not, probably, I have not seen a situation where the death penalty would be implemented, but it shouldn't be there. Yeah. If the Constitution says, look at it, change it, and maintain it, you need to do that, and it said within 10 years. So in 2012, when former President Jammeh killed 9 inmates, obviously, almost all of them were killed unlawfully. Yes, because there was no valid death penalty law in the Gambia as of that time. Yes. Yeah. So we are still dealing with it because of the volume of material that is in this Constitution. Once it is passed, people go and drink their teas and all the coffees and all that. Nobody cares about even the monitoring ministry, which is the Ministry of Justice. And of course, the monitoring arm of government, which is the National Assembly. Don't look at the provisions in the Constitution that says the National Assembly must do this. And both these drafts, 2020 and 2024, states that the National Assembly should do this and this and that. And it will not be done.
It will not be done.
Yes.
And one thing, before I come to what I was going to, National Assembly, like I said, this draft is saying before a session of the National Assembly starts, the clerk should notify the president. Where does the separation of powers come in here if the National Assembly cannot even have a session without notifying the presidency?
Well, I think that is just a formality, isn't it? Because the president is also under our system. True, the National Assembly is the main lawmaker, but it enacts laws in collaboration with the president. If the National Assembly enacted a law,
the president assent to it.
Yes, the president must assent to it. Yes.
Yeah.
There is an override clause, but that takes place only in extraordinary circumstances.
Yeah.
But in the normal run of events, the president must assent to it. So I don't know, maybe that is just the protocol so that the president knows what is happening in the country and all that. But that is just a formality that goes to no substance of what the National Assembly will be doing.
But in the event they notify the president and the president says not to have the session on that time, why must it be there? That's the thing. Because this is a law of the land, right? So
no, the president wouldn't do it.
You wouldn't know that. You don't know what people can do in this day and age.
No, that is just a notification. Yeah, it has to happen. It
has to happen, or
the notification has to happen. But that's it. You cannot say you cannot do it. Yeah.
Now, secession presidency. in our current law, 1997, and also the 2020 draft, when the president resigns or dies or something like that, we have elections in 90 days. But this 2024 draft says a different thing. The president resigns, the next in line takes over and continues the remainder of the term.
Yeah.
Is that what this says? Are you okay with that? Do you think that is okay?
Well, normally that is the culture, but that succession is a very significant aspect of our public life. So if you are going to do that, there would be some little changes in the Constitution as to how the Vice President is appointed, or how the office of Vice President comes into being. Yes. Would you have the Vice President as your running mate?
Just like in the United States and other
exactly.
countries.
Then I can understand that logic.
Yeah.
But people can also say, well, you know, if the president has that confidence in the in selecting somebody as a vice president, then maybe he must be a good person. So
but that person was not selected by the people.
Exactly. I think that consideration was why the 90-day election period. Then you have acting presidents until after 90 days. And then obviously I would go for the 90 days. Yeah. So the documents.
So all in all, the declaration of public emergency, you know. But all in all, I just even want to go further. There are all in all, if you look at some of the things that I have raised here, the ones that you think should not, you know, you have a different view on, is more than what you have raised as things that you are okay with. Well, all in all, looking at from our conversation,
yes,
the things that you have raised that you think are very good and are significant is about 3 or 4. And all the things that you have issues with is more than 5 or 6 that I've raised here. Now, that all in all, it only shows that there are significant issues also with this draft.
With both drafts.
With both drafts. With both drafts.
So I think really it's left to the key stakeholders. In this case, the members of the National Assembly and their political parties.
Yeah.
Yes. So they need to look at both documents. And
should we have a new process or?
No, I think a new process would probably be very cumbersome. If we are going to have a new process, then we should ditch both the 2020 and 2024 and amend the 1997. 1997 has problems, but those problems are not overwhelming. Yes. It's just the president interfering with the National Assembly and the judiciary, because removal of judges, there were 2 processes there, the impeachment process, which the president never utilized, and the dismissal process, which he consistently utilized. Yes. So the National Assembly, how do you control your MPs? You expel them from your party. And their seats become vacant. Yeah. So once you are expelled, you stand no chance of coming back if you are from the president's party. Yeah. Some other party can win it, but it's unlikely that you will come back. Yeah, even if you stand as an independent. So I think for me, really, politics is the art of doing the art of the possible. You negotiate. This is not a battlefield where you want to destroy everything. So the stakeholders should negotiate. You know.
But the 2020, you did not It wasn't.
No, I think both the 2020
and the 2020
and the 2024 are substandard documents.
Now, if what is the threshold is 2/3 of the assembly to have this
three quarters.
Three quarters, right? To have it passed. What about the editing? For example, if they want to go clause by clause and edit sections of the draft, does that also require 3/4 or just a simple majority when it comes to editing? Because that is key there. For example, if they want to edit a section and then, and have a proposal as to let's leave it back to the 90 days and stuff like that, what threshold is required to edit that particular section?
Well, I think that is just part of the National Assembly standing orders. You can do the editing. They have their own
standing orders on that.
Yeah, they have their own standing orders on that. Yes, you can negotiate and then do amendments. I wouldn't call it editing, but the legal language is amendments.
Yeah.
They can do those things, and of course they have to bring it back to the National Assembly and see whether they have a consensus.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you have a consensus, it goes through, but it would require work.
Yeah.
Yes, what it would require is the political parties who have representation going through it with some of their members, not only the National Assembly members, some of their members assisting the members of the National Assembly, and looking at these provisions. Of course, it's going to be difficult because you have to run it by the other players. There's the people who have opportunity, who have members in the National Assembly. They have to agree. Yeah, maybe you will have the votes, but this is a consensus. You have to bring everybody on board. Yeah, you have to bring everybody on board, because otherwise, from my observations, I don't think the 2024 would probably have a chance if they did not negotiate. Yes, I think they need to negotiate. Yeah, so, and then see what is possible. But this would mean, the executive going on its knees and saying, let's talk.
I think, yes. And I think I've seen international communities already getting in and telling, because that's what they want. They want us to have a new draft constitution. Either the 2020 or 2024 draft, they were instrumental in saying we need a constitution, the Gambian needs a new constitution and everything. But it seems like the Gambian people want it right. One thing that also, was very significant, that I noticed was the recalling of National Assembly members, nominated members. The president, this was something that went to court. The Supreme Court ruled that the president doesn't have the powers to remove, in the 1997, to recall National Assembly members, in the case of Yakumba versus, And now they made sure in this draft that is captured there. The president has, in this draft, the president can recall nominated members. What is your observation on that?
Well, since it is expressly stated, it would be difficult for the court to say no. But if you look at the principle, the president must not be able to do that. So that shouldn't be in the Constitution. Yeah, because
especially when the Supreme Court ruled on it.
Yes, exactly. There is a Supreme Court decision on it. So if you put it expressly in the Constitution, it would present a monumental difficulty for the Supreme Court. Yeah, will it strike it down as not in conformity with principles? You can, maybe not, because it's the Constitution expressly stating that it can be done. Yes, but like I said, Fatou, you take a larger view of national interest. It's very important.
It's important. That's
Yeah.
where I wanted to come.
Yeah.
It looks like, looking at these key things, this was a ruling that was made against the president, and we knew they didn't like it. But I mean, one thing I liked about it, though, whenever there's a ruling against the government, they will respect it, even though they will express it. But they respected it, and they confirmed. They went ahead and implemented it. But the larger idea here, what me, the layperson, and some other people are seeing, from the president now saying, because Supreme Court to the portion where the ministers cannot declare their assets, to the portion where ministers can receive gifts, it brings to the notion that the people that drafted this constitution were looking out for somebody or a group of people. And that
They did not draft it, they edited it.
They edited it. The people that edited
the bulk of the material
is from the
2020.
The people that edited, that's why I keep asking, who edited? And I really want to know who edited this draft.
No, it is the government, the cabinet. I don't know who
they assigned to do it.
They used, but
now it's the idea we're getting from this editing is this: we have to protect a certain group of people instead of the larger group of people, the Gambian people, the national interest. And then that brings to my conclusion: was it done in good faith to edit this to suit only the protection of a certain group of people?
Well, aspects of it.
Major aspects
of it were not done in good
faith. And does that pose a problem? Should we be right to say we have serious concerns because aspects of this constitution have not been done in good faith?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe it will encounter major hurdles, obviously, because if you look at the public space, you use that as a barometer for what is likely to happen in the National Assembly. Maybe you can say it is unlikely to pass. So some people would say, was that done deliberately, that it wouldn't pass? So
and that brings to my next question. And I had this argument with somebody, and the person said, this was all a facade to please the international community, ECOWAS, the U.S. Embassy, EU, the Americans, because they want the government to bring the draft. They want the Gambia to have a new draft constitution, a new constitution. Now the government will say, oh, we brought a draft, they threw it out. Because again, obviously, when the 2020 draft was thrown out, we blamed the government because it was the president's loyalists who threw it out, right? And of course, we said it was the government because we knew what their position was. It was leaked to the media, and obviously we knew it. So we said it's them. But now they have brought in a new draft. And number one, they know the process of the draft itself has defeated the purpose of getting it passed, number one, because all the political, nobody was consulted, nobody knows what they were doing. People have said, even before it was draft, if they touch anything from that draft, we will not vote for it. Let it go to the assembly. If there's supposed to be any amendments, let it be done there. But it's not for them, it's not their document. It is the people's document. Let the National Assembly do the amendments. But the first thing that they did was violate that and edited it for themselves. The second thing is this: they edited issues and portions which look, some of them, which look very favorable to protect them. And now they know that a lot of me and other people will advocate for, no, this doesn't fit the test of time. And people will advocate for it. And that is also there. Now, if it goes to the National Assembly and it's thrown out, the MPs for the ruling government alone cannot get this passed. They need the opposition and some independent to rule it, to vote on it. And I have heard from the APRC camp, they are not voting for it. The UDP said anything, they're voting out. It looks like it's going to be dead on arrival. It looks like it.
It looks like it.
And if that happens, the government can say, oh, we did our part, we gazetted the draft, we took it to the assembly, it failed. But the content of that draft is what made it fail, and the process. But all they want is to satisfy, my belief, and I've seen this also, is to satisfy all these international organizations and then just bring something that they know they don't even want to bring. They don't want it passed. They don't want it to go through. Number one, now it just went. This only shows we are not ready for prime time. But all of these things, you know, all of these things, do you have this belief also that they don't want it passed? They only want to present it to satisfy the international community?
Well, I don't know if they want to satisfy the international community. I cannot say it definitively, but it's politics. So obviously, you don't look at things on their face value. You have to go behind the document, behind the conduct, to understand what was the trigger. Why was something done? So it's difficult to say, but I won't rule anything out in politics.
Everything is possible.
A lot is possible. We shouldn't be involved in those kinds of things as far as national documents, national issues are concerned. We need to be somewhat careful about being over-partisan. Yes. At the end of the day, you know, we share the same space. You know, there is nothing between the sky and the and the ground except Gambians. So obviously, if
and are you optimistic we will ever have a constitution that reflects the will of the people, considering this political climate? Because ni baro la fefe ofena dron UDP malafora ni UDP la fefe ofena dron baro malafora. And to have a constitution, we are going to need all of them to pass that and then have it passed at the referendum. It has to be a collective duty. It has to be a collective thing. Now,
it has to be a neutral document.
A neutral document.
Yes. A neutral document. Take the emotions out of it. Take the political calculations out of it. You know, just a neutral document. And that can be done. A neutral document that can stand the test of time. Of the three that we are dealing with, the current constitution is the one that can be edited to be neutral. The
1997.
Yes, that can be edited to be neutral.
And obviously you would need 3/4 also when you edit that, right? So
it's an amendment that has to go through a referendum. It has to go through a referendum because you are going to touch some of the entrenched clauses. And if you touch even one of the entrenched clauses, then it has to go to a referendum. The National Assembly can amend the Constitution on its own. That is the non-entrenched clauses. But if you touch the entrenched clauses, the clauses that are ring-fenced so that nobody plays around with them. You know, the former president, President Jammeh, changed the 1997 Constitution more than 50 times. I counted it to 58, but somebody said it's 52. But anyway, it's over 50 times, yes. Wow. Right. But have you seen him touch the entrenched clauses like the fundamental freedoms?
No,
because it goes to a referendum. And if they say, okay, you cannot talk anything bad against the government, you know, people are not going to vote for that. So They did amend some entrenched clauses, but those are harmless entrenched clauses, like the Gambia is a sovereign republic and all that, you know. Yeah.
So what would you recommend? You said both 2020 and the 2024 are substandard documents. There are major issues on both. And to be honest, for me also, the citizenship, I agree with you on that. And I think that is something that, you know, we should, you know,
No, it's very important. We can have people go to the sub-region or maybe outside the sub-region and bring children here, traffic children, and make them citizens.
That is very, you know, that there should be. But now, what should be the solution now? What would you recommend as somebody who you know is specialized in constitutional law and all the stuff? Both are substandard documents. There are major issues in this one and also in that one. What would you recommend? Should be the way forward?
Well, I think the way forward really is with the president and the president and his other stakeholders. Yeah, it is difficult, but he has to approach them if he wants this passed. If you don't want this passed, then there's no point approaching them.
If they want this passed, the president, what should he do? Approach the stakeholders?
Yes, you know, and sound them out as to their concerns. Yes, of course.
And be willing to edit some of the concerns from the stakeholders.
Yes, absolutely. In other words, people are complaining about non-consultation. So you go back to them and say, okay, this is what we want to do. Will you support it? You know, so again, what are the chances of that happening? Almost zero. Yeah, that alone is very, very difficult to effect, you know, because, you know, some people would probably say, no, we don't have to go. But others may say, no, we don't want to talk to you. So it's a dilemma, really. It's a dilemma.
And that's why from the onset it should have been consultation first.
Yes, certainly, because that is the procedural aspect of it. You consult. Politics is not about pettiness. Yeah, you consult, you listen to what people would say. They may say, okay, we bring the 2020 back. You can go to the 2020 and edit that before you bring the 2024. But now that the 2024 is on the table, if you want to restart the process, there is a possibility that we can have a new constitution before 2026. But it may not even be in 2025, maybe to early 2026. I mean, if they have
while it's been gazetted, if they have a consultation and agree on all these contentious issues, and they on both can direct their National Assembly members to make amendments on those issues and get it passed. But that has to be, there should be serious and fair consultations among stakeholders, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that is what should happen.
And it should start with the presidency, right?
Yeah, well...
Because it's their document.
Yeah, it's their document. Yeah, it's their document. The national document, as of the time it was been rejected, was the 2021. So after 2020 was rejected, it goes into limbo. So it was not brought back out of that limbo. Instead, a new one is drafted. So that new one, obviously, you know, presents big difficulties for even a discussion, much less an agreement at that discussion or discussions. Yeah.
Somebody just said in the comment section and made me laugh. The bigger question is what have these officials done to be able to provide all these protections for themselves in the Constitution? And that is the question everyone is asking. If you know you are okay, you're doing your job and you're following the principles of good governance, why would you seek for all these protections in the Constitution and make it blanket? Why? If
No, but Fatou, let us look at it this way. Say, for example, you they didn't say we should not be prosecuted for stealing. They didn't say that.
Yeah.
What they said is not declaring their assets.
Yeah.
Now, if you are found to have assets that you could not have acquired legally, you think that would stop the country from pursuing you and prosecuting you and putting you in prison? The Constitution, the draft did not say nothing can happen to them.
But the thing here is, if you're subjecting the other branches of government who are not managing any of our resources per se, the judges, they only dispense justice.
Yeah, absolutely.
The National Assembly, they make laws. It is the executive who spend our money, they spend our resources, they do all of these things on our behalf. If you want judges and National Assembly to declare their assets, but you are not required to, that only itself says a lot. So that is the argument for me. That alone.
No, I understand the argument from a theoretical perspective. What I'm saying is, they did not say, even if you found us to be corrupt, we could not be prosecuted.
Yeah.
So you see, there is a big loophole there.
They did not say it, and they did not require to accept. So nothing is said about it.
Yes, but the criminal laws are already there.
Yeah.
What they fail to do is subject themselves to disclosure. Yes. They don't want to declare anything after leaving office. Or at the point of leaving office. But that does not put the criminal law to sleep. What that does is leave it to the incumbent, to the incoming government to deal with those issues. If you are found to be corrupt, there is nothing preventing them to, because whether you declare your assets or not, if you are found to be corrupt, you can be subject to the criminal law. Yeah. If you are found to have stolen money that belongs to the government, you can be subjected to the criminal law. You can be tried, prosecuted. If you are convicted, then you face the possibility of forfeiture or going to prison. Yeah. So those are just, they think those are protections for them. But it is annoying and offensive. It shouldn't happen. But you are not protected. The good thing is, the best approach would be just leave public funds alone. This did not protect you. It says you need not declare. But that doesn't mean that if you are caught, you wouldn't be prosecuted. It's just like if you go to Gatwick or Heathrow. Sometimes, the entry positions are clear. There is nobody there. So you can pass with whatever contraband you had in you. But that doesn't mean that if you are caught, you would not be prosecuted. So they can steal, they can build. It's the ones that you spend, maybe that's not a problem. But if you spend it on real estate and other things, you can be pursued, you can be prosecuted. But the thing is, it shouldn't happen. This should be transparent and accountable. The people should have confidence in the system that we agreed should govern us. And who better to subject to the strictures of that system than the managers of the system, the governors of the system, that is the cabinet. So I agree entirely with you, but you're not home free. You may not declare your assets, but there are other ways to find out whether you enrich yourself on government funds, on public funds.
Interesting. I don't know. I mean, let's go back to the drawing board, have consultations while it is gazetted, and have stakeholders to, raise the real concerns and get to good amendments. I think with proper amendments, we might have a constitution.
That's a possibility.
They have to come together and do this. It cannot be.
And but there is one big contention there, that is whether the president is entitled to run in 2026.
President Barrow, what can you do above 10? I mean, it's not how much you spend in power, it's what you are able to do.
Yeah.
I mean, if President, my own opinion, if President Barrow wants this government, his legacy to be, to give Gambian people, and he says that's what he wants, to give the Gambian people a new constitution. This was what he campaigned upon. This was the reform agenda that we were promised in 2016. If he wants to do that, I would say, you know what? Take that out. Say, I not even take it out, but I will not run. And just let your word be your Bible, and let's have these other political, because the thing is, most of them are hanging on to that. That is one thing that will even kill the spirit of even going into serious negotiations.
Yeah.
And once that is there, we are not going, the truth is we are not going to have a constitution if that is there. Because the players that I see will not agree to that. Because most of them believe the president being there gives him the upper hand. You know, the more you are in power, you get more upper hand to win elections. And then the president's legacy will not be fulfilled. He wants to, he says this all the time. The legacy will not have constitution or Gambia. But constitution or manta sotola natra, the president wants to run for 20 years. We have seen that and been there and done that with President Jammeh. We don't want any president to be here for 20 years because that's what we're scared of. We are not saying President Barrow is going to be that, but we're scared of that. That what we went through, somebody being in power for 20 years, you get drunk in power and it makes you do things that we don't think President Barrow will do, but that's what we have at the back of our mind. And I think that is the major issue for many people. The first thing I asked when I saw the draft, the President Barrow going to run for another term? I think I called you and you said under this draft, yes, he can run for another 2 terms. And before knowing any other thing, it was a no for me. And I know so many other people that was it for them. So if the president wants us to, other stakeholders to accommodate a negotiation, I think that is the first thing they should look at. For him to say, I'm not running, and you know, bring somebody else in his party, support that person, and let us have a constitution that reflects the will of the Gambian people, that will reflect who we are. And that will be the greatest pride for him to be the one that gives us that kind of constitution and be his legacy. I mean, that is my advice to the presidency. But until that is addressed, the reality is these political actors will not accept it. And they have the numbers to block it at the assembly.
Yeah, the numbers are there. The numbers are there to ensure it does not go through. Yeah.
And that's the sad part. we have to have this conversation. It is the tough conversation, and we have to have it. We have to talk to the opposition. They have to know that they cannot look at everything on political lens. They cannot argue everything and say we are not going to compromise certain things. I had that conversation with the Darboe the other day and said, you know, if you believe you can win, why are you bothered, you know, that the president is going for another term or another term? Can you let go of some of those things? There's things you have to sacrifice. There are things that the presidency have to sacrifice. But his argument is, let's amend it at the National Assembly, not the government, the executive amending it by themselves and bringing to us to accept. Now that is a problem that I have, you have, I've seen civil society, all of them, the Bar Association, talking about the transparency in the entire process.
No, in fact, yeah, that is the biggest problem, the failure to consult. Yeah, the failure to consult, because everybody said we were not aware. So maybe that's the situation. Yeah, we were
but
not
we can
aware.
rectify it, right? We can go back and say, do nobody mbunne. Supreme Islamic na Christian Council na yesin dia fo ko banko dingol lafta constitutional bari baro ifana be fenne bulala UDP alfembula doy alfembula being na together and look at the interest of this country.
Yeah.
If we don't do that, then What's the point of all of this? The transition that we all cried for in 2026, the reforms, and all of those things. What's the point? And we spent 16 million on the 2020 draft?
That's what they said.
That's what.
So some are saying 160, so I don't know how much.
I'm scared. I mean,
the government didn't give a figure.
Yeah.
The CRC didn't give a figure, so.
What's your final message to
Well,
the Gambian people? How should we approach this? Should be to the government, to the opposition? We all have a part to play. It's not just government. It's all of us.
Yeah.
The opposition, the civil society, the media, all of us, the stakeholders.
Well, I think the media has its megaphones. A lot of people listen to you, look to you for information and leadership, and of course applying pressure on the political actors. I think that's what the media needs to do. Yeah, ensure that the actors come to the table.
Yeah.
They should know that they are there for the people, not for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but at the end of the day, it would require a lot of patience and maturity.
Yeah.
But those who are at the gates, knocking on the doors of the presidency, should be mature enough to deal with difficult circumstances as we found ourselves in. Yeah. So, but at the end of the day, it's the government that must put out the feelers, wave the olive branch to the other stakeholders and see what happens. But if the intention is not to have a new constitution, well,
And that's the big question there.
yeah, that's.
Do we really want to?
That's a question mark. Yeah, that's a question mark. The presidency is the more you remain there, the more encumbered you become. And it's difficult.
It's difficult to live.
Difficult. People would say, I told me, even told Kelanyandi.
Just like what he was saying, when Makisal wanted to leave, I saw National Assembly members and, his people say, Maki, so if you don't run, you know you're deaf.
Yeah.
And that is the mindset, and it's sad that this is what we go through in African politics, and at the end of the day, Macky Sall Jube. I read something in the newspapers where this current government, it was reported that they said, Allah benefits only, like to have security and others, they are not giving it to him. But in actual sense, what they said was, he is now employed by the French government for a certain role, and they're providing him all of this. They're providing him security, protocol, all of this is part of the package. If he's being provided that, why should the Senegalese government provide it? They don't think it's necessary, and they are not providing it. But the media blew it out. Of course, that's what we do, blew it out of proportion, and said Macky has been denied all his benefits and all that stuff. But who would think just 6 months ago that Macky would have been denied all of that? Who would think that? So people have to see beyond power.
That is the problem we have in this country. And it's something we have to look at carefully. Yeah. You wouldn't think we would have an open, no time limit constitution in 1997, but that's what we have. Yes. So, it started from somewhere. But at the end of the day, governance must be the centerpiece. Neutral governance. Yes, that is what we have to endeavor to get. But if you come to government with the plan to perpetuate yourself, obviously you're not going to do anything transparent. So transparency will just be a slogan. Yeah, accountability will just be a slogan. the rule of law would just be a slogan. And slogans are not meant to be implemented.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, you just said.
Yeah, but one thing also, right? For example, if going beyond 2 terms is the main issue that the presidency wouldn't want to let go, if I was an opposition leader, I'll let that go. And because that's what we have anyway right now in the 1997. The president can run for 100 years because there's no limit there. But work on the other major issues and work to defeat him in the polls if need be, right? Sell that to your electorates and make them believe why he should not be there. And at least, you know, if all of those things, I know it will be hard for them to understand some of these things because they will say, why should he not? But if that is the major issue, wouldn't it be right to say, okay, all right, we'll go and fight with him in the polls. He can run if he wants to. But let's look at these other major issues and amend those and go fight in the
polls,
and make sure we have 2-term limit in the Constitution going forward. That can also be something that they should look at because we have to leave something.
Yeah. That's they can reach an agreement. So he will run for only 2026, and because I didn't know whether a consensus is possible if you say no. 2026
agreement is allowed. 2026 run. Okay, we can allow 2026 in the back and forth 2026 and beyond 2026 also you don't have to be, at least that's 15 years, right? Then he can run and then go fight it in the polls, right? But have the other major amendments to other concerns that you had concerns, because they also had, some of them had concerns in the citizenship that is there in this new one. So the other ones, like the 90-day succession and other issues, the judiciary and all the stuff that they had, that are here, you can go there and amend those things. But if we do a double,
absolutely,
we have to have that approach to this.
Yeah, they have to negotiate.
They have to negotiate.
People go to war and kill each other and then come and negotiate. In this case, we don't need to do that. You can negotiate going forward. I don't know the terms of those negotiations, but the feelers must come from the executive arm of government as it is currently constituted. Yes, you committed the strategic error, so you should approach the other stakeholders to say, okay, we accept we made a mistake, that we are proposing this and this and this as a way forward.
Thank you very much, Lamin. And I look forward to how we see that conversation. I'm not optimistic, are you?
Well, I don't know, because some of the hangers on would say, no, it'll that he can't and all that.
Oh, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
So that's some of the problems we have.
Yeah.
But we must have our governance correct.
Correct.
Yes. Government here, Gambia government. Individuals come and go, the country stays. Yeah, that is something we need to work on. We need to create a system that expresses fidelity to that philosophy, the philosophy that the government, the country, is supreme. Yes, and if you are a leader, you must have the national interests at heart. Because we don't want our leaders to live outside the Gambia. It's a disgrace for the country itself. Yeah. It's a loss of dignity. It's loss of dignity for our leaders, our rulers, however you wish to call them.
Yeah.
But, we want them to stay in the Gambia, have your retirement here, rather than dunia manke kodo damad. Kodo sitare bulle si bankudoli kam. But you are not connected to that country.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you so much, Gandhi.
Thank
you
you.
very much for this insightful conversation. I was really looking forward to this, and I have got answers to, some of the questions that, were lingering. And I think a lot of the viewers also have, and thank you so much for always
I'm grateful,
granting our invitations. And to you all watching, we will continue with this conversation. And of course, we're also planning to have a civic education on what is on this draft, and we want to extend it. We're looking for partners to this, and what we want is to have this in the local languages, Mandinka, Wolof, and Fula, and have weekly shows that we will have broadcast on 3 major radios, Membekering, Basse, and King FM, or West Coast, so that we can tell the people what is in this draft.
Yeah.
So people understand.
It's very important.
Me and you are speaking in English, but my grandmother wants to know.
Yeah.
If it goes to referendum, she's going to vote.
Yeah.
So she needs to know what is there. So that kind of civic education is one thing that we're working on. Hopefully, we're able to pull it off.
Well, I hope the international community that is pressuring us should support
something like this.
Something like that, because it would require money, it would require resources, equipment, and things like that. So, absolutely. I mean, if you want this to pass, you
have to do a lot of
you need to do a lot of sensitization
and just clear everything in regards of the people. Once they understand what is there, then you can go to them and say, this is what is there, but this is what we want to remove. But if you don't give them the information, they will take anything that comes. And that is where the problem is.
And that is what we are dealing with today.
Yes.
Some are saying, well, okay, let us ditch our Western systems and approach the Sharia and adopt the Sharia.
Yeah. So definitely. I hope we get partnership for this. If we're able to we should be starting very soon, but we're working on that. Thank you.
Well, I wish you luck in that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You did a good job,
Thank you
Fatou.
so
Wonderful
much.
job.
Yes.
Yes.
Whenever we ask, thank you. And to the entire team, good night to you all. See you again. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are happy to announce the launch of our new logo. We have evolved since our incorporation in 1997, and it is time to refresh our new look to reflect who we are today. Before I reveal our new look, however, walk with me while I take you through our journey of the last 25 years. Trust Bank was incorporated on July 3rd, 1997 and began operations on October 1st, 1997. Following the collapse of the parent company of its predecessor, Meridian, the CBG stepped in and recapitalized the bank and held the shares in trust, thus the name Trust Bank. In 1999, the first investors who responded to the IPO and paid $1.50 per share received their maiden dividend of 50 bututs per share. In 2000, the bank fully paid back who we have always been. As we look forward to greater achievements, we are rebranding to reflect who we are today and the future that we inspire. Our new logo has been designed to visually demonstrate our Gambian heritage and the sophisticated nature of the bank. We are moving away from the navy and gold-colored parallelogram-shaped logo to our baobab tree with a rising sun in the background. The striking outline of a baobab tree at sunrise is a familiar sight to anyone who has spent time in the Gambia. Our new logo and visual identity are inspired by our core values and spirit of being a pioneer in providing a unique banking experience. It is a completely new look that better matches the transformation we have made as a company. But we remain your trust bank. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my singular honor to present to you our new logo and corporate identity.